ways to flex your rights in a police encounter. Yes, freeze!
The following video is for informational purposes only. If you have a specific issue for which you need legal advice, seek a professional in your area.
Flexing your rights is the slang for asserting your legal protections under the Constitution in a police encounter. While many of the protections have been eroded over the years, sadly, there are still means by which you can assert your rights to protect yourself as best as possible should you encounter a police officer. We are going to look together at 3 scenarios to see how this is done: walking on a public sidewalk, driving in your car, and answering your door. Number 3, walking on a public sidewalk. Generally, when you're walking on a public sidewalk, you are protected from unreasonable searches and seizures under the 4th Amendment. Police officers cannot randomly stop you at large, and so it is important to understand what kind of interactions are taking place should an officer speak with you. The first kind of encounter is a consensual encounter. Police officers can walk up to any individual and start a conversation. To determine whether a police officer is trying to talk to you casually or trying to stop you under what's called a legal detention, remember this phrase to ask. "Excuse me, officer, but am I being detained or am I free to go?"
Jaywalk?
Am I being detained?
I mean, no, but did you jaywalk?
Okay, well, in that case, thank you, officer. Have a good day.
Asking this question should produce a response from an officer that helps clarify what kind of encounter it is. Police officers who fail to state if a person is being detained run the risk of creating an unlawful detention. So asking this question immediately helps to ensure you know right away if you can leave without any problems. If an officer tells you that you're being detained, then the officer likely has some kind of reasonable suspicion that you have, or are about to commit a crime. This cannot be just a hunch. There must be specific facts related to the criminal statute. So asking what the officer is detaining you for will be key to figuring out the issue. Once the officer tells you why you are being detained, you can tell the officer that you will be remaining silent, save to ask if you're free to go. Do not say anything else otherwise, as anything you say or do could be held against you in court. You can always tell police officers that you do not wish to speak because your lawyer said not to unless your lawyer is present. This helps make it clear to police that you're apprised of your rights and ready to assert them, as you have a right to remain silent under the 5th Amendment. Police officers will often attempt to demand identification from people who they stop as well. Remember 2 key facts. First, police can only demand ID if the law allows it. The Supreme Court in Hybel ruled that states can permit mandatory ID upon detention, but that's only if the state has enacted it. Become familiar with your state's laws so you can know what you should do. Second, identification does not mean you have to give over a driver's license. You no more need a driver's license for walking than a pilot's license for driving. Identification typically means stating one's name, date of birth, and home address. Police may attempt to take someone to a station by force to verify identification, but that is simply another opportunity to state your compliance conditions. "Officer, I will comply to go to the station if you are ordering me by law. I do not otherwise consent to searches and seizures." If an officer asks to search you, again, do not consent. You can always state that you do not consent to searches. If an officer searches you anyway, that will be an issue your lawyer can take on if you stated that you do not consent to searches. Do not physically resist, as that could endanger yourself. Remember that the key to surviving your police encounter on the street is to remain calm, be courteous, and be firm in stating that you do not consent to searches and that you'd like to know when you're free to go. Number 2, driving in a car. Police officers can pull over vehicles readily because there are so many different traffic laws for which a stop can take place. Whenever you see flashing lights, that means that you are officially being stopped. While grabbing your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, you should mentally prepare yourself to limit what you say. Remember that anything you say or do could be used against you, so don't let that anxiety of seeing flashing police lights overtake your calm demeanor in flexing your rights. The most common issue that police try to exploit in vehicles is getting consent to search the vehicle. While vehicles are easy to stop for simple traffic violations, searching them is a harder standard as it requires probable cause, which means they need specific facts suggesting a crime has taken place. You can refuse a search politely, and that refusal makes it clear that you're not going to go along with the officer's fishing expedition. Just like with walking, you can ask if you're free to go, especially if the officer appears to be finished with the initial reason for pulling you over, such as writing a ticket for speeding. Officers are generally not allowed to keep you for longer than is needed to write the ticket, so do not give them a free rein to your time and vehicle.
May I have your license and registration, please? You know, we're just out here making sure there aren't any drugs or any guns in this neighborhood, so do you mind if I go through your car?
Thank you for your concern, officer. I don't consent to searches.
Alright, well, be sure to drive safe then. This is just a warning.
Thank you, officer.
Have a good one.
Number 1, police trying to enter your home. Your home has some of the greatest protections from police intrusion. In fact, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 2013 that even drug dogs cannot be used to sniff outside a home to obtain a warrant. When police come to your door and you are unsure why they are there, you may not even need to open the door to them. Generally, unless officers are delivering a warrant, rescuing someone who's crying for help, or chasing a felon in hot pursuit, they have no right to enter your home, which means that if you do not see them saying they have a warrant when knocking, you can even ignore them. Of course, if you choose to open the door out of concern that something else may have happened, do not give the officers opportunity to drum up a reason to enter. Either keep the door closed behind you or open the door only a margin with some kind of restraint lock so they do not push the door in. Officers are known to try to push their way in when a door opens, so it's important to be careful about choosing that option. If you discover that officers are not serving a warrant for you or your address, then you're free to tell the officers that you do not wish to speak with them and that they can leave the property. Remember, like before, that you can always state that you do not consent to searches.
Hello, my name is Officer Pha, and I'm part of a community safety program. Do you mind if I look in your home, make sure it's safe?
Do you have a warrant?
No, but we're just doing a check. You know, the community put me here, and they just want to make sure, you know, the kids stay safe.
Thank you for your concern. I don't answer questions, and I don't consent to searches. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, have a good one.
To help even further, you can say that you do not speak to police without your lawyer present, as that will make it clear that you're apprised of your rights and ready to exercise them. In summary, for all police encounters, you can remember these 5 rules. Number 1, remain calm and courteous. Number 2, be prepared to ask if you're being detained and why. Number 3, state that you do not consent to searches. Number 4, limit what you say to police officers to asserting your rights in a courteous way. Number 5, remember what took place with your encounter so you can share that information with your lawyer should you need to. To learn more about asserting your rights, visit flexyourrights.org. Thank you for watching and for supporting my work. And a special thank you to my fiduciaries, the Asian capitalists, Zach Lakowski and Crawford K. McDonald of ECM Real Estate Group. To join my monthly live hangouts and to help choose the next video I produce, join my Patreon page at the Philosopher's Pho or Boba Tea level. See you soon!
Yes, freeze!